Today we're going to talk about the Parsha and the Haftorah and Shavuos and current events and how they all come together. Today is the 75th anniversary of the massacre, the pogrom in Baghdad. June 1st, 1941, there was a pogrom in Baghdad. Jews were murdered and raped, and this was before any territories were occupied. So why did they murder us then in Baghdad? There was no state of Israel yet. They don't need an excuse, right? If you look at the Haftorah and Bamidbar from the book of Hosea, see how beautiful it ties into current events and the Haftorah and also to Shavuos. It's the end of the book. It's the Haftorah, Parshas Bamidbar from the prophet Hosea. I don't know what page that is, but...
Arch Scroll is page 1180.
Arch Scroll is page 1180 in the Birnbaum Chumash. In the Birnbaum Chumash, 399 in the Birnbaum Chumash. Thank you. Haftorah's Bamidbar. Now, Parshas Bamidbar is always read around Shavuos time. You know that, Elisheva. There's a book there, right there. So page 399 in the Birnbaum Chumash. Thank you. Parshas Bamidbar is always read, Avraham, around Shavuos time. Parshas Bamidbar. Why? Where was the Torah given, the Chama? In the Midbar. So it's matim to read Parshas Bamidbar around Shavuos time because the Torah is given in the Midbar, right, Rose? Question is, why was the Torah given in the Midbar? Why? We have to turn our personal Midbar into spiritual growth. The world is a Midbar. Or I'm a Midbar. And through Torah, I can make my Midbar bloom. I can make the desert bloom. Through Torah. That's our tafkid, that's our challenge in life, right? To take my personal Midbar and make it into a place of what, Moshe? Spiritual growth. So therefore the Torah is given in the Midbar, Parshas Bamidbar. Take your personal Midbar and turn it into spiritual growth. Make your desert bloom. In more ways than one. So look at the Haftorah from the book of Hosea. V'hoye mispar b'nei Yisrael kachol hayam. You hear? When Mashiach comes, there will be so many people, Rivka, kachol hayam, like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted. So this fits in with the Parsha. The Parshas speaks about counting Jews. There were only 600,000. Only 600,000 men, okay, between 20 and 60. That's it. But the prophet promises us when Mashiach comes, there'll be how many Jews? Kechol hayam, like the sand of the sea, v'lo yisafar, they will not be able to out. Unlike the Parsha, which are only 600,000 Jews, when Mashiach comes, there'll be a population explosion among the Jewish people. They'll be like what? Like the sand of the sea that cannot be counted. Now, we have this expression, Gechol Hayam, Ruvain, back, you know where? In Parshas Vayera. In Parshas Vayera, after the Akedah, God promises Abraham that his children are going to be Kechol Chvei Hashemayim B'Kechol Asfas Hayam. So Abraham gets promised the Jews will be like the stars of the heavens and like the sand of the sea. That's God's promise to Abraham. But God's promise to Hosea is only what? Sand of the sea. What happened, the Chama? To Abraham, it was like what? The stars of the heaven and like the sand of the sea. Both metaphors. Why is that? We're like the stars. Remember that song by John Lennon? We all shine on like the sun and the moon and the stars. When the Jewish people are doing the will of Hashem, we're compared to what? A star. That's why the Jews invented Hollywood. Right, Cecil? The Jews invented Hollywood because every one of us is a star. We all shine on, Moshe. Each one gets their star, right? Right? But when the Jewish people are not doing the will of Hashem, then we're compared to what? To the sand of the sea. Why is that also a compliment? Because sand, everybody steps on sand, right? But in the end, sand buries everybody. The Jewish people, when we're not doing the will of Hashem, everybody steps on us. But in the end, we get the last laugh because we bury all of our enemies. All of those that persecuted us, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, right? The Phoenicians, the Romans, the Greeks, where are they? On the 60 feet of sand. So they step on us, we're not doing the will of Hashem, but in the end, we bury them all and we step on them. So that's why both metaphors. We all shine on, but even if we don't do the will of Hashem and our enemies step on us, in the end, Rivka, we get the last laugh because we bury all of our enemies. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the first pasuk in the Haftorah, the end of the verse, the Jewish people will be like the sand of the sea that cannot be counted. The prophet says when Mashiach comes, even the EU and the UN and even John Balkari will say, Yom Elahem, will say to us or about us that we are what? B'nei El Chai. What does that mean? The children of the living God. So our bitter enemies will admit that we are B'nei El Chai. Avi, you mind telling him to turn on the air conditioner? It's very hot in here. The lady at the front desk. Thank you, Avi. B'nei El Chai. We are the children of the living God. Look at the beautiful prophecy, Pasuk Bet, in the Haftorah. So now the Jewish people are divided. We don't know where the rest of the 10 tribes are, right? But look what the prophet says in Pasuk Bet. B'nigbetzu b'nei Yehuda b'nei Yisrael yachtav. B'nigbetzu, what does that mean? Kibbutz Galiot. The children of Yehuda, the children of Yisrael, who are the children of Yisrael, Rivka? Lost tribes will be gathered yachtav. What does that mean? So happy together. V'samilhem rosh echad. And they will have one rosh. Who's the one rosh? Mashiach. V'olam min haaretz ki godel yom Yisrael. Great will be the day of Yisrael. What does Yisrael mean? Nechama, not Yisrael, Yisrael. Zerael. God will plant us back in Pisgat Zev. Yisrael. I mean, where do you live in Rechavia, right? Oh, Nachlot, slicha. Yisrael. God will plant us back in the Holy Land. You hear that?
Getting back to our roots.
Beautiful. Getting back to roots. Get it? Roots? Roots? Huh? Roots, right?
What's that mean?
Roots. Pasuk Gimel. Imru lachechem ami. Lachotechem ruchuma. So God will plant us back in Israel. Say to your brothers, Ami. What does Ami mean? My people. And to your sisters, Ruchama. What does Ruchama mean? It's a popular name among Svardim. Ruchama in Hebrew means what? Compassionate, merciful. Ruchama. Not Nechama, Rechama. From the word Rechem, Rachmunis. Ooh, Rivka's on the ball. The Yiddish word rolls Rachmunis. Rachmanut. Ruchama. It's the same word as Rechem.
Yeah, but Ashkenaz.
But why is it the same word? Because the greatest compassion that exists in the world is the love that a mother has for the child that comes out of her rechem. There's no greater love than that. So therefore it's rechama. The ultimate compassion is even a child is ugly and cantankerous, the mother can't stop. I can't stop loving you. It came out of her rechem, right? Therefore, God is El Rachum. God is El Rachum. God says, I can't stop loving you no matter how ugly you get. Right? That's pretty amazing. El Rachum. Okay. Now, again, this Haftorah is always read around Shavuos time, Ruvain. Fasten your seatbelts for this. At Har Sinai, Rivka, remember, it was a shotgun wedding. God held the mountain over our heads, remember? And he said, if you don't say I do, it's all over. That's what happened at Har Sinai, Shavuos. Is there any way to begin a relationship, Zisel? Any way to begin a relationship? In Virginia, they call that a shotgun wedding. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
But that's what happened on Shavuos. Look at the contrast of the Haftorah that's always read around Shavuos time, Masha. Fasten your seatbelts. Pasuk Tez Zayin. L'chein hine wow. Anoichi. Who's the Anoichi? Anoichi Hashem Elokecha mifateha. I, God, will seduce her.
Ooh.
Who's her, Nechama?
B'nai Yisrael.
Unlike the first time, when it was a shotgun wedding, he held them out over our heads, Shavuos time, God promises when Mashiach comes in Pasuk Tez Zayin. How does the English translate that, Masha? Pasuk 16. How does Birnbaum translate that? Any volunteers?
Article says, therefore behold,
Yeah.
I shall seduce her
Good.
and lead her to, they didn't clean it up.
They didn't clean it up. L'chein,
I
therefore.
shall seduce her and lead her to the wilderness.
Who's her? Who's her? Us. Unlike the first time where he forced us, Avi. L'chein, therefore, hine wow, anoichi Hashem Elokecha mifateho. I will seduce her. V'lachtia Bamidbar. I'll bring her back to the desert, where it all began. But it began through coercion. Now it'll be an act of seduction. God will seduce us.
What's the word?
V'dibarti aliba. And I will speak to her heart. God will lovey-dovey us. Unlike Shavuos, when he forced us, Esau, if you don't say I do, it's all over. He promised when Mashiach comes, I'll bring you back to the desert and I'll sweet talk you until we get lovey-dovey without an act of coercion, unlike the shotgun wedding which took place when? Therefore, this Haftorah is always read when? Not on Shavuos, but around Shavuos time.
Okay, but Purim.
What?
We took Purim on Purim. We did it willingly.
Oh, very good.
But not
Oh,
really.
Nechama.
About that, but it's not
Nechama, that's a Purim Torah. We're not there yet, okay? We're not Purim. Now we're Shavuos time. Okay? But here, this is a prophecy. Please, this is a prophecy for the Messianic era. Okay? Now, take a look at Yud Zayin. This is a prophecy, Ruvain, that we are living this prophecy, especially where I live in Pisgat Zev, that before, when Jordan had it, it looked like a moonscape until 1967, a moonscape. And now it looks like a Garden of Eden, Pisgat Zev. So I'm living this prophecy. Take a look. Pasuk Yud Zayin, Ruvain. V'nosati loas kromeha misham. I will give her beautiful vineyards. Vineyards. There's Emek Ochor lepetach tikva. And the valley that, what does Ochor mean? Reuven, you know Hebrew, with an eye. Ochor means ugly. The valley that was ugly when King Hussein had it was ugly. It looked like a barren moonscape, Pisgat Zev did. Before and after. The valley that was ugly, lepetach tikva. Now is what, David? Petach tikva. V'anso shama. What does that mean? And she will sing there. Who is she?
Yes, Israel.
Israel. He's the Chasam Wadakala. Kimei nireha, like the days of her youth. Ukiyoy ma'alos Eretz Mitzrayim, like when I brought up the Yidden from Mitzrayim, didn't they serenade God? By the sea, by the sea, by the beautiful sea. We serenaded God by the sea. So we're going to do it again. We'll sing to him again, lovey-dovey, when what? When Mashiach comes. But this is talking to me, Moshe, and Pisgat Zev, and all of Eretz Yisrael. That was an Emek Ochor. You, that's amazing. Before and after pictures, until 1967, what Pisgat Zev looked like. You wouldn't believe it. And now it's beautiful with vineyards and luscious gardens. So we're living this prophecy.
That's when he wanted back, now that we fixed it up.
What do you mean back? What do you mean back? Pasuk Yud Ches. V'hoya bayom ahu. Bayom ahu, in that day, which day? Num Hashem, says God, Tikri Ishi. There's two ways to say my husband in Hebrew. Bali Oved b'misrat hapnim.
What's the other way? New?
Ishi Oved misrat hapnim.
Nobody uses that.
No, it's amazing that even the liberal women, They shouldn't say Bali. They should say Ishi. Because Bali means that you're subservient to your hubby. Bali, my master, works for the Mishrat Alapanim. They should say Ishi. In classical Hebrew, even today, that's properly to say husband. Because Bali means that he rules over you. The women today, they want to wear the pants. So God says, when Mashiach comes, we're not going to call him Bali, my husband that rules over me. We're going to call God Ishi, my lovey-dovey hubby. I like that, lovey-dovey hubby. Hosea, I don't poet, I didn't even know it, Rivka. This is all from, God is speaking to Hosea. We're going to call him Ishi, lovey-dovey hubby. Wow. Look at Pasuk Kaf. V'karati lahem brit b'yaymahu. I'm going to make a treaty with them, and that day, im chayat hasadeh. Who's the chayat hasadeh? The wild beasts of the field. Who's that? Abu Mamzer and company. Right? And no more will there be cherev u'milchama. Yiddish. I will break the wars and the sword from the land, and you'll be able to have betach. You'll be able to have what? Security. True peace and security. Not a peace process, phony peace, but a true peace when I get rid of the chayat hasadeh. Now look at Pasuk Chaf Aleph. God says, V'arastech li la'olam. I will marry you forever. Rivka, unlike the first two times, we got kicked out of our lovey-dovey Eretz Yisrael. V'arastech li la'olam. But God says, I will marry you forever. V'arastech li b'tzedek u'b'mishpat b'chesed u'rachamim. And I will marry you with tzedek. What does tzedek mean?
Righteousness.
Mishpat, justice, loving kindness, and in compassion. V'arastech li be'emunah. And I will marry you with faith. V'yadat etz Adonai. And you will what? Know God. What do you mean to know God? Who doesn't know God? To know him. To love him. What do you mean know God? Who doesn't know God?
Isn't it knowledge in the sexual
Huh?
sense? It's yadati, knowledge of the sexual sense.
Right. Adam knew Eve. Adam knew Eve in the biblical sense. So God says, you're going to know me. Love me. Wow. And this fits in beautiful with what? With the Parsha. 1 second, please. So every morning when we put on the tefillin, we make 3 rings. V'arastachi 3 times. So every morning, what do? We put on God's wedding ring. Not once, but 3 times. 3 times. Chazaka, here Malka said, once is not enough. Who said once is not enough? David. Who said once is not enough? He did. He did 3 times. V'arastechli lo'olam, v'arastechli b'tzedek, v'arastechli be'emunah. Once is not enough. God said that. He loves us so many times. So the 3 rings, unlike the first 2 times when we got kicked out of Pisgat Zev, this time, Rose, we're back for good. We're living the dream. Now, the Balaturim says something amazing. There are 3 ways that you can marry a woman. 3 ways. Kesef, Shtar, Ubia. God loves us so much that he did all 3 ways, says the Balaturim. Avi, not me. The Balaturim says, V'arastechli la'olam. Why does God say, I married you 3 times? Once is not enough. Because God loved us so much that he married us in all 3 ways. Where was the Kesef? The loot of Mitzrayim, the booty of Mitzrayim. You marry a woman through Kesef. So he gave us a lot of Kesef when he gave us all Fort Knox from Cairo. So he married us through Kesef. Another way you can marry a woman is through Shtar. What does Shtar mean? The Torah. Ubia.
Guess when he took us out of Egypt.
When he brought us to Pisgat Zev.
Why did
When we came to the land, Eretz Yisrael, when we came to the land, get it? When you came, we came, I lived there. Eretz Yisrael, slicha. Telstone, slicha.
Telstar is gorgeous. It's on a mountain.
What? Ubia. Right?
How are
That's what the Balaturim says. V'ovi eschem elai. Rabbi Reuben. Okay, Rabbi Reuben, you're from Missouri. I have to show you. Okay. If you take a look at in Parshas Yitro, you have a book in front of you, you could look. Parshas Yitro, you have the Chumash with all the Parshas there. Amazing Balaturim in Parshas Yitro that we're going to read when? Shavuos morning, right? Says the Balaturim something incredible. Fasten your seatbelts, but I'll tell you, it's by Exodus 19. Exodus 19, okay. Exodus 19, Pasuk 4. Shemos 19, Pasuk 4. God says, you have seen what I did to Mitzrayim. I bore you on eagle's wings. Va'avi eschem elai. See that, Ruvain? Exodus 19:4. Va'avi eschem elai, and I brought you to myself. Says the Balaturim. The word va'avi is gematria bia. That's pretty amazing. The word va'avi has the same numerical value as the word bia, which means what? The intimate relation. So God married us all three ways, David. Once is not enough. That's pretty amazing. Now remember, I sang to you, to know him is to love him. So it's in the Haftorah, but also Ruvain has to be found where? In the Parsha, because the Parsha and the Haftorah are very strongly connected. Rivka, in this class you have to have nimble fingers. If you go back to Bamidbar 1, you have the books in front of you, it's kedai to look inside. If you go to Bamidbar 1, the Torah gives the names of the princes of the tribes. Bamidbar 1, Pasuk 14. Bamidbar 1:14. Legad. Who was the prince of God? Ben Deuel. Eliasaph ben Deuel, not Ben Cartwright, was Ben Deuel. So here he's called David Ben Deuel. Oh, Ruvain, if you go to what? To Bamidbar 2, Pasuk 14. Bamidbar 2:14. Umate God, the Nasi Livnei God, Eliasaph Ben Ruel. It's not a typo, Ruvain, Chas v'sholom, not a typo. In Bamidbar 1, he's called Ben Deuel, the son of Deuel. And the same guy in Bamidbar 2, Pasuk 14, he's called Ben Reuel.
She has Reuel.
That's what I just said, Ben Reuel. That's in Bamidbar, don't mix me up. Bamidbar 1, Bamidbar 1, Pasuk 14, he's called Ben Deuel. Bamidbar 1:14, he's called Ben Deuel. In Bamidbar 2, Pasuk 14, Koinky Dinky, he's called what? Ben Reuel. Rabbi Reuben, it's not a typo. Chas v'sholom. What does Deuel mean? To know God. What does Reuel mean? Reyut. To love God. Reyut. Reyut. To know him is to love him. I didn't know, Ruvain, when I was listening to those songs, I didn't know that I was preparing myself for a teaching career. I didn't know that. My father said, Shtuyot, what are you listening to Shtuyot for? But I'm recycling the Shtuyot, Rose. I didn't know, if I would have known then what I know now, all those Shtuyot songs, I am bringing them up. I'm moving on up. Now my father's proud of me. I'm recycling the garbage. I'm taking garbage and making it into gold. That's a tafkid of a yid. To take ra and make it reya. Isn't it strange? The same word for evil in Hebrew, ra, is the same word for reya, which means friend.
Oh yeah.
Ain't it good to know you got a friend? The Baba Rebbe says, what's it all about? How could the same word for ra be the same word for loving friend? Says the Lubavitch Rebbe, tafkid of a yid is to take the evil and to recycle it into your friend. That's what I'm doing. Baruch Hashem, I have the schus. I'm bringing it back. So all those shtuyot songs, Malka, I'm recycling them and taking the ra and making it reya. So once you know God, you can graduate to love God. The uel becomes reuel, reyut. Haftorah yacho kamocha. Same word, amazing. The word for evil, the word for friend. That's the tafkid of a Jew. Says the Bamidbar Rabbi, it's no trick to serve God with the Yetzer Tov. That's no trick. But to serve God with your evil inclination, to elevate the sins that you did, to bring them on home, to recycle them, to lift them up, that's a trick. And that's a tafkid of a Jew. Not b'chol livach, b'shnei yitzrecha. You have to love God b'chol livavcha, with your two hearts, with your good impulse, and even more important, which is much harder to do, even with your evil impulse, right? So, pretty interesting. So let's take a look at the, why did God have to force us and hold the mountain over our heads? Is that any way to begin a relationship? And we said Nasa v'nishma. We said I do, so why did he have to force us? So the Maral says something incredible. Based on Kabbalah, we know that God follows his own Torah. There's a pasuk in Parshas Kiteitzei. If someone forces a woman to be with him, and the woman looks like the Wicked Witch of the West, remember her? And he looks like Robert Redford in his prime, and if she wants, then she can force, if she doesn't want, she sues the pants off of him, right? But if she wants, remember the Wicked Witch of the West? Let's say she looked like that. And he looks like Robert Redford in his prime. So the halacha is, if she wants him, she can what? Force him to marry her, and no matter how repulsive and disgusting she is and gets, lo yuchal l'shalcha kol yamav. He could never what?
Get rid of her.
Never get rid of her. That's halacha in Parshas Kiteitzei, open and shut. Huh?
He deserves it.
Poetic justice, right?
What scenario is there?
Next time, don't force yourself on the Wicked Witch of the West. Right?
Go east.
Says the Moral Mi Prague, Nechama, you're sitting down. This is Shavuos talk. God knew we're going to get pretty ugly with sin throughout the ages and pretty disgusting with sin. He'll be tempted to divorce us. So he did an act of coercion. I'm stuck on you. No matter how ugly we get with sin throughout the ages, David, he could never force us. He can never divorce us because he forced us. And he follows his own Torah. He plays by his rules. So therefore, Rivka did an act of coercion. And this way, he can never get rid of us. I'm stuck on you. Pretty interesting. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to force us. We already said, Nasa v'nishma. Fashtei.
Yeah, but this is why he shows us the rainbow, to tell us, I'm really angry and I want to destroy the world.
Well, that was a promise to Noach. Remember the promise to Noach, right? Right? That was a promise to Noach. So if you take a look, let's go back to Exodus 19, verse 5, because, Rivka, this is a Shavuos morning reading. So if we're not too sleepy Shavuos morning, we can, Exodus 19, Pasuk 5, Shmos 19, 5. If you listen to my voice, observe my covenant, yitem li segula mikol ha'amim. You will be to me segula. What does segula mean?
403 there.
Exodus 19, Pasuk 5, what page?
403 there.
403 in the Art Scroll, and in
115.
115 in Birnbaum, thank you. Shmos 19:5. You listen to my voice, observe my covenant, you will be to me segula. So, segula, Unkula says, Habibi. That's what Unkula says.
Sweetheart?
A sweetheart, Chavivin. Habibi, my sweetheart, Yitali Segula, my treasure. But the Balaturim says something incredible. You sitting down? He says the word Segula is from the Hebrew segol. What's segol? Segol means a triangle in Hebrew. A segol, the two dots with a segol. You take ulpan, a segol. Segula. He says you will be part of the love triangle. The Zohar says, Yisrael, the Oraita, the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Chadhu. Israel, the Torah, and the Holy One, blessed be He, are all part of the same love triangle. Yeah, Segula says about from the word Segol, you will join the love triangle between God, Israel, and what? God, Israel, and the Torah. Right? Segula, the love triangle. They got everything from us. Abraham, the love triangle. You know, they got three's a crowd. Who said that?
One.
No, three's not a crowd, because the word ish in Hebrew, hubby, has a yud, and the word isha, wife, has a hey. So in this marriage, there's what? Yud, right? God is. So every Jewish marriage, there's three. Three's a crowd?
No, not here.
Not here. Yes.
Segol. Could you spell Segol,
Samach Gimel.
the dot without the vav?
Samach Gimel Lamed. Segol.
Okay, so it's 93, I think. And,
Samach Gimel, 63 and 30.
93.
Okay.
93 is 3 times 31. It's 3 times Kel, it's 3 times God. So there's your 3.
Well, Reuben, you're amazing. You're just amazing. You already said that 3 times God. God, Israel, and the Jewish people, all three are what? Part of the one. Reuven, the love triangle. Segula, Segol. Wow.
I was told that Segula means special.
It does mean special. Habibin.
It's about 6 different.
There's 70 interpretations, Masha. 2 down, 68 to go.
We got a long shear.
Right? Uncle says Habibi. Right?
He says Habibin.
Habibin, which is short for Habibi. Right? My most beloved treasure. But the Baal HaTurim gives another interpretation. You'll join the love triangle. So the Gemara in Shabbos says, I wonder how the article translates this. This is Shavuos morning reading, so we'll know what we're reading. You take a look what the Torah says. Shavuos morning reading, right? If you're still awake, it says, and let me find that pasuk. Yisrael, Yichan Sham Yisrael, Chodesh Hashlishi.
Morning reading.
This is a Shavuos morning reading. Exodus 19 and 20, right? Exodus 19 and 20. And look at Exodus 19, verse 17, please.
Same place.
Exodus 19, 17.
403. 404.
404 in the art scroll.
405 in Hebrew, 405 in English.
Exodus 19, 17. Moshe took the people out to meet God, and they stood underneath the mountain. Do they say that? What they say?
They translate it stood at the bottom of the mountain.
Doesn't say. It says Vasyatzvu betachti tahar. They stood underneath the mountain. How do you stand underneath the mountain?
Hold it over
Huh?
their heads.
Literally, why is article changing the meaning? Reuven, how does Birnbaum say it? Exodus 19, 17.
They station themselves at the foot of the mountain, same thing. It's not beneath it.
But it says betachtit, Hebrew, underneath the mountain. So the Gemara in Shabbos 88 says, God lifted up the mountain over their heads, kigigit.
Like a barrel.
Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel. It should have said, God lifted up the mountain like a mountain. Why did God turn the mountain into a barrel?
You're talking about he turned it sideways to roll it over?
Kofalem har kigigit. Shabbos 88, he lifted up the mountain and it became a barrel. And he said, good thing you're going to open now. Im atem mikavlim et Torah mutav, vim lav sham tehei kivaratchem. If not, sham tehei kivaratchem. Is that proper grammar? Po, beautiful, Rabbi Reuben. It should have said Pahotei Kivaraschem. If you accept the Torah, good. If not, here will be your burial ground. Doesn't say that. It says there.
So where's there?
Good thing you came today. Over there.
The Yanks are coming?
So I heard from Rav Shlomo Moshe Amar Shlita. About 10 years ago, when he was chief rabbi of Israel, he asked this question. Why did God have to turn the mountain into a barrel? What's wrong with a mountain? And what do you mean there will be a barrel? Here. So he says, well, is this any way to begin a relationship? Is there any way to begin a relationship? It's not what the Talmud means. It doesn't mean that. A barrel is hollow. A mountain is solid. A barrel is hollow. If you put a barrel over you, do you get hurt?
Okay.
It's hollow.
But you're
A barrel protects the precious wine, the precious oil inside the barrel. Or the beer. You hear what he's saying, Rabbi Mar? It's beautiful. I'm glad I was up that night. Spoke at the Yeshurim about 10 years ago in the uniform, when he wore the uniform. Remember? So he said this beautiful vart, I still remember. He says, a barrel is hollow, it can't hurt you. It protects the precious cargo inside. So God said, if you accept the Torah will protect you like a barrel. You're the precious cargo, and the barrel will protect you like it protects wine and oil and beer. But if you don't accept the Torah, sham tei kivaraschem. What does sham mean? They're outside the barrel. If you don't have the Torah, you'll be a people, a mortal people, like the Phoenicians, the Babylonians, the Greeks. God wasn't threatening us. That's no way we're trying to begin a relationship, said the great Rav Amar. Today he's the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. God is saying, if you don't accept the Torah is a barrel that will protect you and preserve you 3,329 years later. If you don't accept the Torah, sham. What is there? Outside the barrel, you'll be a mortal people, and you'll wind up in the same cemetery. Where are the Phoenicians? Where are the Assyrians? Where are the Babylonians? Where are the Greeks and the Romans? Kivaraschem. It's not a threat. Well, I'm glad I stood up that night. It's not a threat. God was telling, tell it like it is. The Torah will protect you like a barrel, preserve you for eternity. But if you don't accept the Torah, then sham, outside of the Torah, you'll be a mortal people and you'll become extinct. You'll join the Phoenicians and the Assyrians. Isn't that gewaldig? He said, we misunderstood the Gemara. Not a threat, Cecil. There's no way to begin a relationship. Yes?
So a lot of assimilated Jews, like they're buried in Goyish cemeteries, that could also be that.
But
For those Jews who are assimilated.
okay. But anyway, so this is what the great Rab was saying, that the barrel, right, protects and preserves, right? Interesting that Yehuda Lev said a beer barrel. Rashi says beer barrel. Ruvain, it's amazing. Now Rashi, Yehuda, I'm glad you raised it. Rashi in Shabbos 88, side 1, the Gemara says that God turned the mountain into a barrel. Says Rashi, what kind of barrel? Shechar. My beer is Rheingold, a dry beer. I'm dating myself. A beer barrel. Shoshana, very strange. Rashi was a winemaker.
Shechar is beer.
Shechar means beer. Rashi says, who cares, Yisrael, what kind of barrel it was? Rashi, every word is Kodesh Kedoshim. Why does Rashi have to kvetch? You know what kind of barrel it was? A beer barrel, which is strange because Rashi was a winemaker. So Rav Amar, I'm glad I stood up that night, Ruvain, 10 years ago. He asked, why a beer barrel? Rashi, well, who cares? Rashi.
Stronger than a wine, but it has to withstand pressure.
He asked, first of all, why not a wine barrel when Rashi was a winemaker? And then he asked, who cares? The great Rav Amar, Rabbi Reuben. So you know what he said?
Wine, there's no gas. Beer, there's gas.
He said as follows. I translate into English, okay? What happens, how do you make beer? the hops ferment, they spoil, they go bad, only after you get good beer. The Jewish people in this world, first we suffer a lot, right? We suffer, we go bad, and afterwards in Olam Haba, we go through Yisurin, we go through a process like beer, the great Rav said. Ferment, spoil, go through all of these, first Yisurim, the struggle, and then you get the good, delicious beer in Olam Haba. You hear the great Rabbi Amar, David, 10 years ago. That's why, what? So, but Rashi does say beer. This is what the Rav Amar said. Okay.
Because wine is
The chief rabbi, come on.
I'm sorry, wine is the same process. You crush the grapes, they go rotten.
He should have said, okay. So what forces Rashi to say beer? I think it's a longer process, though.
Because beer is stored with gas. That's pressure. The beer barrel has to be stronger than wine.
Okay. I like what you're saying. So right? I like what you're saying, right?
There's 70 different interpretations.
And they're all equally true. Okay? They're all equally true, right? So, right? Right?
My feeling was that when he gave us the Torah,
You go ahead.
I understood that at that point, we were already special, and he already singled us out.
Okay. Because we accepted the Torah. That made us special.
Right, but
We became an eternal people.
now he reinforced it, is that what you're saying?
The Torah preserves us, protects us like a barrel does to the precious cargo inside. Preserves us. Right?
So we were already protected at
Okay, because we got the Torah. Because we got the Torah, right? So you ever wonder, Rabbi Reuben, how come there's no Chabad house on Mount Sinai?
Owned by Arabs. What do you think?
Har Sinai.
We don't even know where it is.
Shouldn't they have a Shabbaton, Chag HaShavuot, where it all began? How come there's no Chabad house on Har
We don't
Sinai?
know where Har Sinai is.
Well, that just begs the question. Why don't we know where Har Sinai is?
Where Moshe Rabbeinu's per-
But
There's a lot
Har
of-
Sinai, God revealed himself in all of his glory. You would think if Chabad would put a house in Mumbai, Har Sinai, where it all began. And not only that, we don't even know where it is, and we don't care. We should spend Shavuos at Har Sinai.
Because Chabad began in 1740, it didn't begin in Mount
Oh, that's why.
Chabad was the
Go ahead, Ruvain.
It's actually a shita.
Here. That's where?
It moved. It's,
Har Sinai moved. Where, the Pisgat Zev?
on Har Maria, he said.
No.
They don't celebrate Zion Adar. You ask the Chabadnik,
Yeah.
they don't never heard of it. They never heard of Moshe Rabbeinu.
There's a question, Rav Soloveitchik asked this question, how come we make a big deal about Mount Moriah, Temple Mount, and we totally ignore Har Sinai? Isn't that bizarre? God, Rav Soloveitchik, God did not reveal himself in all of his glory in Mount Moriah, but he did reveal himself in all of his glory where? Har Sinai. So it doesn't seem to be logical why we make such a big deal about Temple Mount and we totally ignore Har Sinai. So to answer this question, the great Rav Soloveitchik points to this week's Parsha. Bamidbar 3, Pasuk 16. Bamidbar 3, Pasuk 16. It says, Moshe counted the Levites al pi Hashem, by the mouth of God. What? 739, Pasuk 16, which is in the Birnbaum, I don't know. 213. Can you read that, Reuben, how the English translate that? Verse 16. Vayifkod also Moshe. Moshe counted them, the Levites, al pi Hashem, by the mouth of God. No, it says by the mouth of God. Don't play with the text. It says Moses counted the Levites by the mouth of God. So Rashi wonders, if Moses counted them, what has the mouth of God got to do with it?
Because Moshe verbalized what God, just like he did the Ten Commandments.
So it's amazing Rashi here, and this is the key to everything, David. An amazing Rashi on this. God told Moses, the Levite, the Israelites were counted from the age of 20. The Levites were counted mi ben chodesh, from a month. So God said, go into Mrs. Levi's tent and see how many babies they're there and write down and count. Moses said to God, Hey chani nechnas l'toch oleim l'dat minyan yonkein. I can't go into Mrs. Levi's tent. She's not sneeze. She's nursing her babies maybe. See, Moshe was very frum. A super haredi. God says, go in and count the Levite babies. He said, God, I can't do it. Mrs. Levi might be in the middle of what? Nursing or taking a shower. Moshe is very frum.
FFB.
What?
FFB.
No, he wasn't.
Omaloi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Listen to this. God said to him, Asay ata eshelcha vani es esheli. You do your part, and I will do mine. Holach Moshe. So Moshe went, va'amad al petach ha'oel. He went from tent to tent to Mrs. Levi's. You had 22,000 Mrs. Levites, right? He stood by the door and he rang the bell. Ding dong. Didn't go in because Mrs. Levi might be taking a shower or nursing. So he rang the bell. Vashchina mikademet lefonav, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu went inside because our father can see his daughter even when she's nursing. Kodesh Baruch Hu went inside. Ubat kol yatsa min ha'oel, and a heavenly voice came out from Mrs. Levi's tent. Kach v'kach tinokot yesh bo'el zeh. So many babies are in this tent. Quintuplets, male babies. Quintuplets, triplets. Therefore it says Moses counted them, but by the mouth of God. So Savechik asked the question, Moses was an 80-year-old man. They had no golf carts in those days. I mean, if he couldn't go into Mrs. Levi's tent anyway because Mrs. Levi was not maybe properly dressed. So if God is doing the counting anyway, why make Moshe, 80-year-old man, go from tent to tent when he didn't go in anyway? Beautiful. Only Sprecher Perlino. Okay, I like that. Okay. You do yours. Only when you do yours will I do mine. You hear this, Ruvain? At Har Sinai, we had no input, says the Rav. What do you do when a show is over? You go home. At Har Sinai, there was God put on a great show. We had no input. So when the show was over, the Shekhinah went away and we go home. We had no input. So no Kiddusha, we don't even know where it is. But Mount Moriah, we sanctified it with the Akedat Yitzchak, the Mesirat Nefesh of the Akedah. Our Ishtadlut, Abraham and Yitzchak, were to sacrifice their lives for Kodesh Baruch Hu. When we and God do it together, it has eternal Kiddusha. And therefore, Asay ata shelachav ani eset sheli, we had no input in Har Sinai, and therefore, no input on our part, and therefore we don't even know where Har Sinai is, and therefore Chabad has no Chabad house there, right? But Mount Moriah is just as holy today as ever because of the Mesirat Nefesh of the Akedah, which took place there, Nechama. The Akedat Yitzchak made sure that Temple Mount is just as holy today as it ever was. Now, this Shabbos is our Ofruf Shabbos. It's the Shabbos before Shavuos. Shavuos is the chasana between God and the Jewish people. You know, Shavuos morning, the Sfardim read a Ketubah. Isn't that beautiful? The Sfardim read a Ketubah before the Ten Commandments. Because Shavuos is the marriage in God and Jewish people. So this Shabbos is what? Is our Ofruf Shabbos. Right? Oh, you're right. Normally, if it wasn't a leap year, this Shabbos would... Normally, Bamidbar is a Shabbos right before Shavuos. Normally. But since it's a leap year, it's a week early. In Chutz La'aretz it will be. Right? But normally, Bamidbar is always the Ofruv Shabbos. It's the Shabbos right before Shavuos. Since it's a leap year, it's 1 week early. Okay? But normally it would be... So this is the Ofruv Shabbos between God and the Jewish people.
And Yom Yerushalayim was our Gat Shabbos gift.
Yom Yerushalayim, well, that's Sunday's talk. When we talk about Sunday, how Yom Yerushalayim is actually in Tillim. Yom Yerushalayim, without a Bible codes, the day is in Tillim. Psalm 119. I'll give you a hint that that's Sunday at 2 o'clock. Without a Bible codes, you see the date of Yom Yerushalayim is actually in Tillim. But now we're going to talk about, we still have a few minutes, we have to talk about, it says, Yehuda, you know Hebrew now, Bamidbar 3, Pasuk 4. Bamidbar 3, Pasuk 4. Vayamas Nadav Avihu Lefnei Hashem. Nadav and Avihu died before God. Bamidbar 3, Pasuk 4.
Page 737 in Art Scroll.
Pasuk 4. How does the Art Scroll translate that?
Avihu died before Hashem.
Died before Hashem. So anybody who takes Ulpan Ruvain, it should have said Vayamutu. Nadav and Avihu are two people. One person is say Vayamat, he died. David, two people, Vayamutu. It should have said they died. How come it says he died, Nadav and Avihu?
Hashem considered them
How come he said he died?
Because they have the same heart.
same soul, they consider the same event.
Remember, every statement in the Talmud, not every, but 98% have to have a source where Yevamah 63 says, if a man has no wife, he's like half a man.
Right. Oh, so the
Yevamah 63. What's the source? Beautiful, Ruvain. It should have said, Vayamutu Nadav Avihu. How come it says Vayamat? He died. Since Nadav and Avihu were bachelors, they were not married, so therefore, chasar, they were chasar. They were incomplete. And therefore, it doesn't say Vayamutu, but Vayamat. So therefore, see, women don't need us.
It doesn't say that about us.
That's right. But we, without a wife, we're a halba mensch. How do you say that in English? A halba mensch? Half a man. That's a pasuk in the Torah.
They didn't have a wife, and therefore they might have been better off, and therefore they would have maybe have died. And they would have brought in the fire, maybe.
What?
Don't do it, guys.
What? No, the Chassam Sofer says, why did they die? They were so heavenly. They were so heavenly good. They were so heavenly good, but no earthly good. So heavenly minded. No earthly good. Thank you. They were so heavenly minded, no earthly good, meaning if they were married and had a family, they would be anchored in this world. There was nothing to keep them anchored, so they blasted off. That God doesn't want. God doesn't want angels. He has plenty up there. He wants human beings to raise a family, have children, but they know Malachim.
They had no children. They mentioned that.
I just said that. That's why the Chassam Sofer says, because they had no family, so they had nothing to keep them on earth.
They have no ball and chain. So
They have no ball and chain. No ball and chain. Nothing to keep them anchored. Right?
no ball and chain. So beat me up, Scotty.
God wants us to be human and interact. Right? Not to be malachim. He has plenty of malachim in heaven. So I like that, Rabbi Yaakov. They were so heavenly minded, they were no earthly good. Yes?
Jaja Gabor said,
Yeah, my grandmother
she
lived
said,
across the street from
a
me.
man without a wife is only half a man. When he's married, he's finished.
No, it's a better line. If you marry the right one, you're complete. If you marry the wrong one, you're finished.
Yeah.
But she was quoting this Gemara.
See that?
She wasn't. My grandmother grew up across the street from them.
He said their mother was no better. They were in and out of that house.
What?
And their mother
Uh-huh.
told them, don't marry a man if he doesn't have lots of...
But Malka, the Parsha Bamidbar is all about counting, right? Right before Matan Torah, the message of Bamidbar is we all have to stand up and be counted. We all have to stand up and be counted. Now, why was the Torah given in a Midbar? And Parsha Midbar is always right before Shavuos, right? Why is that? Our tafkid, as we said, is to transfer a spiritual Midbar into what? A beautiful garden, right? Turn our Midbar into what? Spiritual growth, yes?
I'm just saying that, his sons were young. They still had time to get married. They still had time to have children.
Who? Not the Avil, but they made a decision. Nobody's good enough for us. The Talmud said they made a decision. We're superstars. Nobody's good enough for us. And Judaism, the first mitzvah in the Torah is to what?
To get married.
Get married and have a family, right? Okay. For men, women are complete without. It's amazing. You ladies don't need it. Right? What does a man say to a woman? Rabbi Reuben, you got to hear this. Harei at mukudeshes li. Rav Pam Zatzal said, Harei at mukudeshes li. You are giving me kedusha. Because of you, I'm going to sanctify my Yetzer Hara. Harei at mukudeshes li. Because of you, my dear wife, I'll be able to sanctify my Yetzer Hara. That's what he said. Well, he spoke Yiddish better than Hebrew.
What did he say?
Harei at mukudeshes li. It's not grammatically what?
Correct.
You are giving me the chance to sanctify my Yetzer Hara, and that's the tafkid of the Jewish people. I hope to see you Sunday at 2 o'clock. We have a shiur about Jerusalem, D.C., David. D.C., not District of Columbia, Jerusalem, D.C., David capital. David's capital. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.